Well, good afternoon, folks. It is a pleasure to be with you this afternoon, and the point of this video is to let you know knowledge is power. I'm so grateful for so many of you that shared your experience and how where you are now and all that good stuff. But this is a little bit of a different video today. The purpose of this video is to share some knowledge I have studied over the years, because it's important that people understand how the system works. I'll try and be as brief as possible, but what I discovered was I started learning spiritual study, and it naturally progressed into studying man's law. And basically what I was finding was the system is, it seems to be on the surface a fraud. It seems to be rigged. It's kind of everything Donald and what we've been learning recently with Comey and Page and Strzok and Jim McCabe and Loretta Lynch. It's all basically a rigged system. And that's what I discovered. And I started to look into what is the principle or the basis of how does everything begin. And I discovered information about the birth certificate. What the birth certificate really is and represents is a legal entity or a person. What people believe to be their own name is actually not legally, factually accurate. Name or birth, what's printed on the birth certificate, is a legal entity, and the birth, a state where the birth document originates, retains the original copy of the birth record. And as you already know, and you can look at the one that was sent to you, notice I don't say it's your birth record, but the certified copy that was sent to you for your authorized and exclusive use of such person / the name, you will notice that it has a stamp on it, and it's a signature that it's a copy. So what is the birth document truly represent? It represents, if you did not exist, the state would not be able to retain an original title to the name. So thus, my learning on what this means is people retain an equitable interest in the birth name, even though you are not the legal owner of the name. So what does that all mean? It means that the state took a control of your unalienable natural inherent rights. For example, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And what they've done is they have monetized or securitized your labor. So what I would like to do is just give you some documentation you can look up on that. And basically, you can go to the actual Department of Treasury website, and they will give you some information. So you can look at www.treasury.gov/resource-currency/legal-tender.aspx. And if you go down a third of the page or so, you will see the definition of what are Federal Reserve notes and how are they different from United States notes. Well, towards the last paragraph of that section, it says Federal Reserve notes are not redeemable in gold, silver, or any other commodity, and receive no backing for anything. This has been the case since 1933. The notes have no value for themselves, but for what they will buy. And I don't particularly like the word buy. I would say legally more it should be the word purchase. continuing on, in another sense, because they are legal tender, Federal Reserve notes are backed by the goods and services in the economy. So what that basically means is it's backed by your labor, our labor, and basically our asses. So that's how the government operates through us. And what they've done is take the total control. They've seized / confiscated your labor, and in return give you a receipt, a certified copy, signed by an authorized public official, giving you a lease, if you want to call it that, or a use of a legal person, a name. And everything you do in that name automatically vests a benefit into the United States government. So for instance, you do not own a car, you do not own a house, you do not own a bank account, because remember the legal title to the name is retained by the state of whatever state you were quote unquote born in, but remember you retain an equitable interest in such person, because without you they couldn't get any benefit. So this government needs you to retain benefit. So I wrote this up very quickly. It's also defined, a birth certificate is also defined as a registered organization, and let me just read that to you. Under Uniform Commercial Code 9-102, item number 71. Registered organization means an organization organized solely under the law of a single state or the United States by the filing of a public organic record with, the issuance of a public organic record by, or the enactment of legislation by the state or the United States. The term includes a business trust that is formed or organized under the law of a single state if a statute of the state governing business trust requires that the business trust organic record be filed with the state. So it really does describe a birth record or birth document. And I actually got this information off YouTube, where a bunch of attorneys were laughing around a round table discussing in the title of the YouTube, you look under UCC, or Uniform Commercial Code 9, and they discuss around the 43-minute mark the birth record as a registered organization. Well, if the state / United States has confiscated or took operating control of your unalienable rights, your labor, and property, basically your property, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and receives a benefit, in essence what this government has done is take operating control of you, which I just said. Therefore, the word usufruct comes into being, and that's this word here. And I want to give you the legal definition of usufruct. What you could do is go to lectlaw.com. This way you have the references so you could study this. And again, the purpose of me doing this video, and I'm going to be doing more videos, is to give people power and knowledge to start studying this stuff, because if Donald does not get a foothold into bringing, justice to the system, they're going to do away with him, so in one form or another, whether it's impeachment or some other form, and basically we're done. And that's truly my belief. So if you go to lectlaw.com, so it's www.lectlaw.com, and go down to the page towards the end. It will say on the right hand side, free legal definitions, legal dictionary. And if you go and look up the word usufruct, it will come up with the following. Usufruct, the right of enjoying a thing, the property of which is vested in another, and to draw from the same all profit, utility, and advantage which it may produce, provided it be without altering the substance of the thing. So basically, to transcribe that a bit, the government took your property, your labor, your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and draws profit from it or benefit, utility, and advantage which it may produce. And what they don't do is they don't beat you, they don't do anything like that. You just naturally produce and work, and they get benefit from it. And that is your property, usufruct. That makes them the usufructuary. And the one who has the right in the enjoyment of a usufruct has certain duties, and that's number one, to make an inventory of the things subject to the usufruct in the presence of those having an interest in them. Number two, to give security for the restitution when the usufruct shall be at an end. Number three, to take good care of things subject to the usufruct. And number four, here we go, folks, this is more specific and more easy to understand. Number four, to pay all taxes and claims which arise while the thing is in his possession, meaning the government's possession, as ground rent. And number five, to keep the thing in repair at its own expense. So in essence, to paraphrase, what happened when the government took operating control of your labor / they confiscated, seized it for the purpose of the operations of the government, the military, because your labor has value, obviously, you have provided credit to the government. In the same token, since that's been seized, the government has a duty to provide you or the person where a claim is made, whether it's for taxes or credit card or mortgage or housing expenses, anything similar to that. They have an obligation under the rule of usufruct, which is international law, under the Hague and as well as the Lieber Code, to provide a discharge or a set-off to those claims, because you have another reason is you also have no way to pay a debt under the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1, which requires all debts be paid in gold and or silver. So since the Congress took that away over the last, 80, 90 years, you have no way to pay a debt. The only way to pay a debt, you can't, is to really discharge or set off. When you discharge a debt, it increases the national debt. If you set off the debt, it reduces the debt. But you can't do that as you're not authorized. Only public officials can do that. So the next quick subject I want to discuss is the Cestui Trust. What that basically says is the United States owns the birth document. It's been given to them to fund the government operations, and this really comes under similar to a Cestui Trust. And again, what I would like you to do is look under birth record documents, the usufruct, the Cestui Trust. This will help you learn how the system works and how basically we've all been defrauded and how we're basically nothing short of enslaved in the system. And I'm not complaining about it. This is not an anti-government situation. I'm discussing what it means is and why I'm doing this. If we don't get ourselves educated how the system operates, and we get a Hillary in there, because she's probably running again in 2020, and why not? It's her turn. We're gonna have some major problems. Remember, the Federal Reserve is a private banking cartel. Why the Congress turned it over and doesn't make the money itself, or at least as United States notes. Remember, Federal Reserve notes, there's interest on top of interest. You can't pay a debt with a debt, and that's all that's available to us. Federal Reserve notes. If you look at the money, quote unquote, in your wallet, you're going to see right at the top it says Federal Reserve notes. You cannot pay a debt with a debt. And by definition, Federal Reserve notes, again, under 12 U.S.C. 411 or under 18 U.S.C. 8 are debt obligations of the United States. So anyway, getting back to the Cestui Trust, I know I'm talking fast. I don't want to make it too long, this video. What it is the Cestui Trust assumes for the United States, because you're a person, you're deemed a dead entity. Because remember, all people must be treated equally under law. Well, if you make a claim to being a person or slash a name or property of the United States, the rules, the legal rules, their rules say you've made a belligerent claim to property you don't own, therefore that's how they get you, and that's how they tax you, that's how they get you to pay their claims, and they get a profit from that. The courts, the states, the county property taxes, all that kind of stuff, they profit from your claim instead of just what they should be doing is just charging a debt or setting off a debt. And what happens with the Cestui Trust, because you hold an equitable interest in that person, what happens when somebody, one of the public officials, uses that to identify you, if you don't make a false claim to profit, the United States property, they should be saying, oh, this name has been charged for whatever reason, it should be set off, your property should be returned to you, meaning, and that's, you'll see that under the Cestui Trust, that is, because you hold that equitable interest, your property should be returned to you. Well, they're not going to do that. The next issue is look up the definition of person. You'll find out that's a dead entity, basically a fiction of law. It could be a corporation, it could be an individual, it could be anything, basically a fiction of law. And again, I'm sorry to be speaking so quickly on this, but I don't want the video to be so long. If you have any questions, please feel free to write me or put comments in the Facebook. Again, I'm doing this as really a pro-government to save the country. Once you learn how the Federal Reserve works, I'm telling you, I don't want anybody creating no peace out there, but we need to learn this stuff, because there's no way Donald is just, he can't. He may have a lot of things working behind the scenes, but when you start watching these people, these swamp creatures in action, there's just no way. They're out to get them. So anyway, I thank you for your time, and God bless. Have a good day.